Every personality quiz, every milestone checklist, every "where should you be by 30" article is measuring the same thing: how well you match a timeline that was invented before your parents were born. You feel it. That low hum when a friend posts their engagement ring, their new house, their promotion. Something tightens in your chest. You scroll past, tell yourself you're happy for them, and then spend the next hour quietly calculating how far behind you are. That calculation is wrong. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why your brain keeps running it anyway. In 1965, a social psychologist named Bernice Neugarten published research that changed how we think about aging. She found that Americans carried a shared internal timeline, a set of unspoken rules about when you should finish school, get married, buy a home, have kids. She called it the social clock. Her most striking finding had nothing to do with the timeline itself. The people who suffered most weren't the ones who were objectively off schedule. They were the ones who felt off schedule. Perception was doing all the damage. That was 60 years ago. The social clock she documented was calibrated by local culture, your neighborhood, your family, maybe your church. A few dozen reference points. And even then, it caused real psychological harm. Now, multiply those reference points by 1,000. Your Instagram account exposes you to an average of 264 followers' highlight reels. Your Facebook likely has over 300 friends. And the content you consume passively, through reels and explore pages, pulls in status signals from strangers across continents, cultures, and economic realities you share nothing with. You're benchmarking your Tuesday against someone else's best day, photographed in perfect light, posted for maximum impact. Here's where the biology gets uncomfortable. Robin Dunbar, an Oxford anthropologist, spent decades studying primate brains. He found that neocortex size across primates predicts social group size with eerie accuracy. For humans, the ceiling lands around 150 stable relationships. That's who your brain can genuinely track, understand, and maintain social context for. Beyond that number, you're guessing. You're pattern matching without real data. But 150 is generous. The actual day-to-day comparison group for most of human evolution was your band. About 50 people, the ones you ate with, hunted with, slept near. Those 50 faces were your entire social universe. When you measured yourself against them, you had full context. You knew their struggles, their setbacks, their 3 a.m. fears. The comparison was harsh sometimes, but it was honest. 50 people with full context versus thousands of strangers, showing only their wins. Your brain uses the same hardware for both. A psychologist named Mark Leary figured out what that hardware actually does. In 1995, he proposed sociometer theory. Your self-esteem is an evolved gauge of social acceptance. It tracks how valued you appear to the people around you. In a small tribe, this was life-saving. If your status dropped, if people started pulling away, if you were being edged toward exclusion, you needed to know immediately. Exclusion from the group meant death. So your brain built an alarm system tuned to detect the faintest status threat. That alarm is what fires when you see someone your age closing on their first house while you're splitting rent with a roommate. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, responds to social status loss with the same cortisol cascade it uses for physical danger. A peer's promotion and a predator in the bushes produce the same chemical signature in your bloodstream. Your body genuinely cannot tell the difference. And the cortisol doesn't just spike and fade. A predator leaves. The Instagram feed refreshes. 31 minutes and 40 seconds. That's the average daily time on Instagram alone. 15 hours a month of low-grade social threat signals with no resolution, no escape, no the danger has passed. Signal that lets your nervous system stand down. Chronic cortisol elevation impairs your hippocampus, disrupts sleep, weakens executive function. One documented effect is compressed time perception. The future feels rushed. the past feels wasted. The present feels like a test you're failing. So the very mechanism that creates the "I'm behind" feeling also degrades your ability to reality check it. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that could calmly assess your actual life, is running on diminished capacity because the alarm system won't stop ringing. A 2021 study published in Frontiers in Psychology found something that sounds counterintuitive. Social media hurt self-esteem more in people with smaller networks, those within the evolutionarily familiar range of about 150. When networks grew far beyond that threshold, the negative effect on self-esteem actually disappeared. The brain seems to just give up processing. The comparison engine stalls when the input exceeds its specs. Within the range it evolved for, though, it runs hot and accurate and merciless. This explains a pattern that puzzled researchers for years. Meta-analyses kept finding tiny correlations between social media use and self-esteem, too small to explain the suffering people clearly reported. The answer was that opposite network sizes were canceling each other out across studies. The effect is real. It just depends on whether your brain is still trying to run the old tribal software on the new data. The most destabilizing part is that knowing all of this doesn't immediately fix the feeling. Farduli and Vartanian documented in 2016 that even when people intellectually understand content is curated and filtered, the emotional impact remains. Your rational mind and your threat detection system run on different neural pathways. One can know the truth, while the other keeps sounding the alarm. But naming the mechanism matters. When the alarm fires, you have a choice about what story you attach to it. The default story is, "I'm behind, something is wrong with me. I need to catch up." The accurate story is that a system built to monitor 50 familiar faces is choking on thousands of curated strangers, and the distress signal it's sending has nothing to do with your actual life. Clinical psychologist Carly Blau puts it directly. Feeling behind in life is a nervous system response, not a personal failure. So what do you do with this? You shrink the input deliberately. Curate your feed down to people whose full lives you actually know, people whose struggles you witness alongside their wins. The brain calibrates honestly when it has honest data. At around 150 genuine connections, your social comparison system starts functioning the way it was designed to, giving you useful feedback instead of false alarms. Newgarten's social clock was a snapshot of 1950s middle-class America. The milestones it prescribed, the ages it assigned, these were cultural artifacts dressed up as universal truth. And now they circulate globally, instantly, detached from any of the economic or cultural context that created them. Your nervous system is doing exactly what evolution built it to do. The problem is the volume, the speed, the sheer scale of input being funneled into a system designed for a campfire circle of familiar faces. The alarm is functioning perfectly. The world it's scanning just bears no resemblance to the one it was built for. The 50 people around that fire knew your whole story. They saw the setbacks and the recoveries in the ordinary days between. Somewhere in your life right now, a handful of people still do. Start measuring from there.